Welcome back to the Grenadier podcast, Real Estate Uncovered. Today I speak with Shaun Stockman, a well-known name around the Canterbury marketplace. He's property investor and developer and managing director of the Stockman Group. You obviously love this business. Tell me what you love the most about it. Today, an absolute exclusive. Welcome back to the Grenadier podcast, Real Estate Uncovered. Well, welcome, Shaun Stockman, a very recognisable name around our city, particularly in the development area. But I'd love you to give us a bit of background about yourself and how you got into property development.
Okay, so I'll give you the short version which morphs into it. So I'm at high school, Hagley High, early 70s, and I ended up in what's called a work experience class.
Right.
So that was, you go out to work 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and I ended up doing this job with putting away car parts. Quite unusual, but the good thing about it was I realised I had a photographic memory.
Wow.
Which has been invaluable to me through my life, particularly in property because it's all about numbers. So off I go to this car parts place, and I'm there, and I loved cars. I wanted to be a panel beater. So I got a job as a panel beater, which saw the creative side of me come out, where you got a car that was damaged and you repaired it. And I was doing that at home. 18, married my high school sweetheart, first time.
Aww.
And I had a deposit for a house from repairing these damaged cars.
Excellent.
And 4 years later, we had 2 children and needed a bigger house. So I sold the house and we picked up $8,000
Substantial.
in 4 years.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, that was about 2 years of income.
Wow.
And I thought, this is good. This is good.
I'm onto something here.
Imagine if I had 2 or 3 of them. So 2 years after we moved, I bought my first rental at 24, and it was a heritage cottage at 150 Strickland Street. And I gave it a tidy up, and we kept it as a rental. And that then morphed into about 12 of them.
Wow.
Which then morphed into, we've got one property, one tenant, one section to look after. Let's get some flats. So we condensed into flats. Early 2000s, very early 2000s, I started buying commercial with Dean Marshall. And we had, by the time the quakes hit, we had 28 buildings in the CBD.
Oh my goodness.
14 of them got lost in the quakes, and about 5 of them got seconded by Sarah as part of the acquisition for the
Framework, yeah.
Yep. So we effectively had gone from being guys that bought lovely old inner city buildings and repurposed them. Because about that time you had the tech industry that was exploding.
Yes.
And you had, your A-grade buildings like the PwC building and those buildings that were all black floor tiles, white ceiling grids. The tech people hated them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we had polished timber and bricks and lovely old ceilings, and people just flocked to them. We were getting more rental for those on a metre basis than you're getting for A-grade buildings.
Amazing. People just love the feel of them, and yeah.
I love them. The business model was, the margins were 100%.
Amazing.
I mean, you get 10 or 15 there on a good, if you're lucky. So we'd done that, and then the quakes hit, and we become developers really by default. We rebuilt the portfolio and added to it and saw more opportunity, and that's sort of where we rolled. And I've gone, in the last 4 years, I've gone back to, with my son, doing residential development.
Yes.
So we're doing townhouses again, and that's going well, and it's a really like a family legacy type situation.
You did become very much a name around town, particularly after the earthquakes, because you were very, involved in getting our city going again.
Yeah, well, you might recall we built the first permanent building back in the CBD, which got seconded by Sarah, the Manchester Worcester corner.
Yes.
I think the tenants moved in on the 12th of July, and Sarah gave us notice on the 26th of July that they were taking it.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah.
And one of them was a government tenant.
Oh, I know, the irony of it all.
Yeah.
We can look back and laugh. It wasn't so funny at the time, was it?
Wasn't funny because you couldn't replace it.
Do you see what areas in Christchurch, if at all, do you see as areas of particular growth or interest or hotspots around our city?
Funnily enough, I've been watching New Brighton.
Yes.
So what's happening out there is there's a couple of well-established investors who have bought some commercial out there.
Right.
And they repurposed them, and they've got some very good tenants.
Good.
And there's some residential plan for out there. And I can see it offering a lot. If you're younger and you want that lifestyle, it's a bit different. Wouldn't call it hippie, but it's, you know, it's the beaches there, and it's just a bit different.
Yes.
I think there's a bit of potential there again.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for long-time Christchurch residents, we've always said, you know, why can't we get our coastal area sort of, you know, pumping? And, you know, while we raised our family in the eastern suburbs, you know, high schooling was a thing. Now we've got Shirley boys and Avonside girls there.
Yeah.
You know, and like you say, the infrastructure is coming back and good development, and we've got the hot pools, and you know, there is good things happening.
Yes, it is, because a lot of the other areas around, particularly around the periphery of the city, have been done. Like you've had the, you know, when the zones got redone and you had your RSTD, and you know before that we had Living 1, Living 2, Living 3, and Living and on the peripheral. The Living 3 was the only real redevelopable one.
Yes.
A lot of Living 2 and 1 sites wouldn't quite work.
Yes.
So we had that, and a lot of those areas have really, you know, you've got a lot of townhouse development.
Yes.
So they've really realised a lot of potential that
Yes.
previously was unlocked, and you think, well, where's the next one?
Yeah.
You know, because your St Albans is good to buy, and there's parts of St Albans that are but Maryvale that are still probably undervalued.
Yes.
That I think they'll improve in value, but the potential's there. It's seen. You know, you're not going to be opening a fresh can of baked beans when you go there to do the development. You know, it's been done before.
Yes.
But I think it's one to watch.
Yeah, that's excellent. If you're building with buyers or potential tenants in mind, what do you think the things that are important to them? What are you including in your designs and your plans that...
Residentially?
Yes.
Garages if we can.
Yeah.
Our developments we're doing now are mixed. Some have got parks, some have got garages, and just little add-in things like if you can't do a study, do a work bureau.
Beautiful.
Because you know everyone has a computer at home, or they've got to pay bills or whatever. So if you've got, you know, if it's 1.8 metres long by 700 deep with some shelves, that's an add plus. So we're trying to do that as much as possible.
Excellent.
We've been doing, you know, keyless doors, stone tops, Bosch appliances, you know, black accents, wall carpet, you know, those types of things. You've also seen in the last year the code changed, where the H1, which is your insulation factors, all changed.
Yes.
So anything you build now has to be thermally broken, insulated in the foundation and the walls, double in the walls and the ceilings now, which is good. It's good for...
It is good.
It's good.
I know when I was working as a buyer's agent and you'd have people coming from other countries, they're just like gobsmacked, weren't they?
Yeah.
That we had these drafty weatherboard homes and single glazing, and, you know, they used to radiant heat throughout they're just like, is this, you know?
Yeah,
So it's good that we're really getting on top of that.
It is good. And sort of by default, they're almost like a green home in terms of running costs,
Yes.
because they're almost airtight.
Yes.
So that side of it's really good. They cost about, per townhouse we're doing now, they're about 11 grand more on average to build with that change.
Wow.
Because all the aluminium companies have had to buy new gear to make all the stuff, and then there's the cost. So your foundations, where you've got polystyrene pods, you've got to put more stiffening in your foundation because to allow for that soft bit.
Yes.
So there's a lot of added costs, but as I say, I'm not begrudging it. I think it's better for everybody.
And even though that's a big one-off cost, over the lifetime of a home, it's nothing to make it that extra, comfort
Exactly.
level.
And it's good for the planet.
Shaun, there must be a lot of challenges you go through as a developer, you know, both in the commercial space and the residential space. How do you navigate that?
Better your planning, the earlier that you're onto it, the better the result. we're not seeing the delays now that we've seen with council with consenting, but they're still there, and there still are gaps in it. For example, the driveways which you need for your 224 when you've done your development to get your titles.
Yes.
There's no mandatory dates for those. So as a developer, you apply for your 224, you've done your drive, you've done your crossing, your firewalls are in, your survey's done, you apply for your 224, there's no mandatory date. It could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah, so
And
that's hopeless.
That's hopeless.
Yeah.
And you've got 6 or 8 buyers lined up that want to settle, and you can't give them an accurate date. You can give them a to the win date. That's a gap in the traffic.
Yeah.
But we found overall the Christchurch City Council have been they've always been quite helpful. Although they're under the pump sometimes, they're not the hurdles, they don't purposely put hurdles up.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, you can work around it. And I think the Quakes have brought part of that in where they've had to buckle and bend and do a few things. And
be a bit more flexible and agile and...
Yeah, and that's all it is really.
Yeah.
The new Plan Change 14, have you caught up with that?
No.
So Plan Change 14, the previous government wanted to bring it in, and in its raw form it meant that some areas of Christchurch could go to residentially to 32 metres.
Oh, yes.
Standard type homes.
Which freaked everyone out.
Absolutely freaked.
I do know what you mean,
Yeah. So standard type homes, you could be a metre off the boundary, 4 metres high, then your recession plane goes to 45, so you can potentially have a 6 metre high building next to your lovely villa in St Albans.
That's right, yeah, and it caused widespread panic.
Absolutely. So now that's come back out, there's changes to it. So the council refused it to start with. They put a commissioner in. Council have worked through it. It's come out. I've read some of it. Some of it I think is quite brutal. Commercially, now in the CBD, as part of that Plan Change 14, I read the other day, if you're building to 28 metres, well, currently some areas are only 13 metres. They've changed it, so if you're building to 28 metres, you'll no longer need a resource consent as of right. So you can just build to that height.
Right.
That's commercially. Residentially, there's a whole lot of things in there, like I think, for example, Hornby's 6 levels. So that's going to change the landscape a wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think as a city we're ready for that type of intense stuff. And we're not like Wellington where we're surrounded by hills.
That's right, yeah.
We've got heaps of space to grow.
Yes.
And lots of greenfield development that can still come. So
Yeah.
I think while it's going to offer sort of some opportunity for development, it's not going to be the silver bullet.
Yes, I agree. And I think sometimes our vision is a little bit ahead of itself, when people started building without any car parking and things, not everyone could embrace that, right? Not everyone was ready. And so you sort of go forward and then come and find the balance in between. Yeah.
I think that's where it'll be.
Yeah. So Shaun, working in this market, you would have come across a lot of us real estate agents. Tell us how that relationship works and what's important that you look for in a real estate consultant.
It's a very important relationship on several levels. One is agents are on the coalface. You're not, we're not. I'm over the fence now, so
yes.
Other side of the fence. So the agent has the coalface information and the vibe, what's happening in the market. They'll see it slow or increase and before we do. So that relationship's good. Their knowledge is really good. And if you're doing leasing, they're the lifeblood of your business.
Right, yes.
So I love paying real estate agents. I honestly love paying them.
Isn't that great?
Because if I'm paying them, I'm getting something back.
Business is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fees are cheap.
Yeah.
In reality, the fees are cheap. And it's the same
We
when...
love that.
It's the same when you're selling.
Yeah.
If you're buying, again, it's that knowledge of that agent is really important. That they know what they're doing. They know how what the metrics are for it.
Yes.
And then equally again, when you're selling, if you're talking residentially, it's really important that you've got someone that's in the lane. They know what they're doing. They know the market. They know the trends. They know the vibes. They'll get the result.
Yeah.
And that's what you're paying for, and that's what you want.
Brilliant.
So really important.
And a good negotiator is worth thousands of dollars, right?
A good negotiator is worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've seen it time and time again where, the agents, I've said some of the deals I've done, I've said to the agent, look, we'll just do it. They say, no, hang on, let me just go back.
Yeah.
And you appreciate that?
Yes.
Because in the moment, you just want the deal done.
Yes.
I can bank that one and get them off the next one. But they'll go back and they might get another 5 or 10. You put that over 4 or 5 units.
That's right.
It's a lot of money.
Pays for all the new rigs.
Not quite, Lisa.
What advice would you give to aspiring Shaun Stockmans?
Investment and development are like a season.
Yes.
So I look back at my career, which is 40 years now as an investor.
Wow.
And you've just got to take it slow. Yeah. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. I was an investor for 20 years before I could back the car at the drive on a Monday and say I've paid the bills for the week.
Yes.
That's patience.
Yeah.
But I'd built a good little portfolio, and there's times too when it's not prudent to buy.
Yes.
Like 21, 22 when the market was absolutely hot.
Yeah, you want to yin when they're yinging, right?
Absolutely. Not saying that there wasn't opportunity then, because there's always opportunity. Hot, bad, cold, medium market, there's always opportunity. You've got to see it, study it. You've got to know the market. You've got to be passionate about what you do. You've got to be determined, and you've got to be unwavering. Those factors are critical.
Such good advice, such great wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, Shaun, it's just been delightful. I could talk to you all day about these sort of topics, but we do appreciate your time, and thank you for being on the Grenadier podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Grenadier podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it.